Hey, it's Bon. Let's talk about the Ubisoft Forward in 2023. Now, you may or may not know, but I was not around this weekend to catch all of these shows. I was out on the road, and so now I'm back. And instead of trying to cover these shows from top to bottom, I'm going to pick my top 3 favorite games. I'm going to talk about those, and then a little bit about the show itself. And then I'll go into more detail on my podcast, The Echo Cast, which you can find all over the place on all podcast platforms and right here on this very YouTube channel. My number 3 game at the Ubisoft show was Assassin's Creed Mirage. They've shown this before. I think this was another really good showing, giving us some gameplay, showing us what the game is really going to look like, and to a point how it's going to play. It looks like old school Assassin's Creed, maybe with some of the newer controls and things like that. And with the updated graphics, and it looks great, and it looks like it has the right idea. It looks like they've heard people out. And while Odyssey and Valhalla sold insanely well and reviewed okay, they still hear this contingent of players who are like, those are fine, but those aren't what we think Assassin's Creed is. We think Assassin's Creed is, 1, 2, and 3, and then some of the games that came after that, where it was more actual based on assassins and doing the stealth and doing kind of the parkour around the city and stuff like that, and not looting shields and such. So this game seems like it's an answer to those people saying, okay, here you go. We're going to take this thing that was supposed to be a DLC for Valhalla. We're going to turn it into a full-fledged Assassin's Creed game. And we're going to mostly turn it into what you've been asking for, an old school Assassin's Creed game, obviously with some modern amenities. And now it's up to you guys to buy it and play it and to love it, because I'll tell you what, this is a test. If this game doesn't go over well, they won't do this again. And maybe they're in development in another game like this, but they could cut that at any time. So I think Mirage is a huge test to the Assassin's Creed faithful who want to see that old school type of game come back. Well, here's your chance to get more of that potentially, because they're saying, okay, here's this old school game. You better love it. And I know I will. So I'm excited to play it. I'm excited to check it out. My number 2 game of the Ubisoft show was Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. I think people have been kind of wondering what this game would even be. We now know that it's going to be kind of a sort of revenge, self-discovery story from a Na'vi that was captured by the humans and then attempted to be trained into like a super soldier and then escapes eventually, and is kind of discovering what it means to be Na'vi, as well as fighting off these forces, these human forces and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a really cool way to experience this world. This game is being made in Snowdrop. It's being made by Massive. This is a different team from the Division games, but it seems like a lot of the skills have transferred over. The world looks incredible. I'm still not completely sold on this being a first-person game, but it does kind of give me vibes of like Mirror's Edge, where you're seeing a lot of like kind of parkour stuff, world usage, things like that with movement, as well as combat being kind of Far Cry-ish in a lot of ways, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. Combat is, in my opinion, the strength of that series. And then you see kind of the world exploration and the story from James Cameron and the Avatar franchise. These are a combination of things that could work out really, really well. And from what we saw so far, it looks fun. And that's what matters first and foremost. My guess is that there's going to be a lot of depth to it as well, that you just can't really portray over a trailer or some gameplay or whatever. So this game comes out in December. I'm really excited to check it out and play it. I think it looks awesome, and I am really excited for everyone at Massive who got to show this off after many, many years of working on this with very little to show for it publicly. And finally, my number 1 star story, there's a hint from, or my favorite game from the Star And finally, my number one game from the Ubisoft show was Star Wars Outlaws. This is a game that is very near and dear to me because many of the devs on it, including Julian Garrity and Frederick Thylander and others, are Division devs, old school Division people that I've gotten to know over the years and really trust them to make a fun, exciting game. And what they showed us today with this Star Wars Outlaws game, it looks fun and exciting. It looks like, and this is just an observation from the outside for now, that the way that Respawn has shown with like a game like Jedi Survivor, that they get Star Wars, I think there's at least hints in this Star Wars Outlaws gameplay and the trailer and such that they're in a similar boat. It seems like they get it. They get what makes Star Wars cool and makes people want to be in that world. And this game especially really offers that opportunity for you to play as kind of a normal person. You're not going to probably end up being a Jedi. You're not going to be anything spectacular or unique. You're just a person who is out there trying to do these jobs to make money and survive and attain, other goals that may not really support the rebellion or the empire and so on. I think the gameplay from this looked really good. It looked, a little unfinished. I think they obviously are still working on this game. And I don't believe we got a release date for it. So I would assume sometime in 2024. But I think that what they showed, especially like the kind of more cinematic parts of it, the interactions, like when you try to turn in this item that you stole and, you kind of get a choice in there to do what you want. And it seemingly it will affect the way the game plays out. I think that's awesome. I've heard rumors that this could end up being almost like a Mass Effect in Star Wars made by Massive. And if that comes to fruition, even in a fairly vague sense, I think that'll be great. I think the graphics on this are on point. I think that it looks like the gameplay is on a good path. And I really believe that people are really going to start seeing Massive as Ubisoft's best studio, because I felt that way for a really long time. And I don't want to disparage Red Storm. I kind of put them in the same category. I really feel like those two studios do a lot of heavy lifting for Ubisoft and very rarely get credit for it. So I was very impressed by this. I can't wait to see more and to actually play this game, hopefully sooner than later. The Ubisoft show overall was fine. I was really bummed that they didn't show any of the Division Heartland stuff. I don't ever need to see anything else from X-Defiant or the Division Resurgence. I don't need, any of that. I could care less about it. Obviously, I'm on an island with that. There's other people who care, and that's really cool. Good for you, but I don't. You could bend both of those games for all I care, as long as we got more info about Heartland, because I really think people need to hear more about that game. And I'm guessing they're going to have some kind of showcase just for that game at some point, if they really want it to be the big live action or the live game that is free to play and has a bunch of these like extraction elements. I imagine they're going to give it its own time in the sun, but we'll have to wait and see. I was surprised we didn't see it. Overall, the show was fine. There was definitely a lot of duds, in my opinion. But overall, more pros than cons. The highs were so high that I think they carried some of the lows, at least for me. So there's that. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you're willing, and leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the show, or a question, or just to say hello. You can catch me as Bond Diesel all over, including on Twitch, where I do stream, and on Twitter, where I tweet too much. And you can catch my weekly gaming podcast, The Echo Cast, on all podcast platforms and right here on YouTube. That's all I have for this one, so until next time.